Zombie apocalypses are pretty rough stuff. I also know for a fact you've wondered, could I survive one of these? Realistically, no. But we're all masochists here, so let's make this even harder. Let's say you're only allowed a kitchen knife. I don't think kitchen knives really need an introduction unless you're a college student living off ramen, so let's just talk about them being applied in a survival context. Well, first off, knives are, well, knives, and knives aren't anything new to survival. Seriously, watch any survival TV show and try not to see a knife. They're not just a staple tool of survival either, they're really a staple tool of humanity in general. It's safe to say knives have a good track record of being pretty useful. Survival in general is a very tough topic since you are essentially fighting against nature itself. You have to worry about the heat, the cold, keeping track of your food, and also keeping yourself sane. Everyone knows by now survival is pretty hard, but surviving during a zombie apocalypse is even harder. Like, ridiculously harder. Not only are you fighting against the forces of nature, but now you're facing against hordes of the undead that don't rest or sleep. If you slip up once, you're a goner. However, in this video, we will explore the possibility of survival with the absolute bare minimum, a survival knife. If you play your cards right, surviving a zombie apocalypse with just a knife should, in theory, just be like surviving any other ordinary situation with just a knife. By playing your cards right, we mean finding a location where you wouldn't really have to worry about combating hordes of undead corpses with just your little knife. Remember, the only real difference here is just the addition of zombies. If you're in an urban area like a city, yeah, you're basically good as dead. However, if you're out in the woods far away from civilization, things will be a lot easier on you. First, let's talk about how knives are used for survival in the first place. Knives are arguably the most useful tool in a survivalist arsenal. This is due to how versatile they are. First off, you can start a fire. With that heat, you can avoid freezing to death first off, and you can cook and sterilize food. To start a fire with the knife, you can start by shaving off thin slices of wood to make kindling. There, you can use the knife to fashion a bow drill. With those tools, you can now start a fire. What else can you do with a knife? One of the next big uses of a knife is for self-defense. Granted, it's not ideal. Ideally, you'd want a long-range weapon, especially if your opponent is infectious and can spread their disease. But that brings us to the next point. The knife can be used for crafting. It is very easy to grab any long stick and sharpen the tip into a spear. Even if you don't feel like sharpening the stick, you can always just duct tape the knife to the end of the stick. Just make sure it's held on tight and won't budge. One last thing we'll list is constructing shelter. You can cut a wide variety of materials and collect branches to build a teepee or pretty much any survival shelter that you may want. Knives themselves also come in a pretty wide selection. One of the most popular survival knives currently is the bowie knife. The bowie knife is more akin to a miniature machete than a regular knife. They are massive and can deal pretty good amount of damage to anything that comes across your path. Although we don't really recommend fighting off hordes of the undead with just a knife, if that knife is just a bowie knife, you actually have a pretty real chance at survival. Disclaimer. Still don't try to fight hordes with a knife. You will probably die. A pretty good advantage of the bowie knife is that you can practically use it as an axe. Yes, you could still use other knives as an axe, but the bowie knife makes chopping through wood that much easier just because of how big these things are. Alright, let's talk about combat now, the reason why you probably click on this video to begin with. Let's start with K-bars. K-bars are razor sharp, I speak from experience, and make self-defense that much easier.
The Pacific and Europe through World War II, and has been carried in almost every theater of combat since.
They also still carry the utility and benefit of being able to craft equipment and start fires. Due to how insanely sharp these things are, once again I speak from experience, it would slice through the soft decayed flesh of the undead like literal butter. You know what else it can cut through pretty damn well? Butter, because you can cook with it, along with every other knife on this list most likely, but they are sharp. Oh yeah, on that topic, they can also gut animals pretty damn well. Caught a squirrel? I mean, if you got a K-bar, I mean, it's just a little shish, and that thing is actually gone. Seriously, these things are actually just stupidly sharp.
So we're gonna see if it can take kind of my whole weight. Left hand, which is on the K-bar. And it is literally no worse for wear. So we are going to the full route, but I'm placing a lot of stress on it right now. It still came true, relatively speaking. So that's pretty impressive.
All right. These knives are impressive and all, but let's talk about something you probably already have. A flip-open knife. Flip-open knives are still great for utility, but they're not really ideal for combat. You'd probably croak if you try fighting anything with these. Seriously, you will die. The blade is simply too short, and you're better off just running away. All right, final knife. Butterfly knife. S tier. Perfect. Will kill everything. Better than a gun even.
Shouldn't play with knives.
So, the knife has got most things going for it. You can build shelter, start a big old fire, craft spears that can poke things out of really hundreds of possibilities. Like, you're pretty much actually only just limited by your creativity here. So, just go wild. Just don't actually go wild because, you'll probably slip up and die. Anyway, so how does this apply in the context of a zombie apocalypse? Well, assuming you're not trying to fight off hordes of the undead with your little switchblade, it really is no different than just practicing normal-ass survivalism. If you're to try to fight off hordes of the undead with a knife, yeah, you will most likely die. Anyways, let's answer that question. Can you survive a zombie apocalypse with just a knife? Most likely, yeah.
Well, that's going to be it for today. Anywho, we're going to be making more videos soon, so, I mean, hey, subscribe if you want to see that type of stuff. Or not. Liking the video also helps with the algorithm, but we're really not going to hunt you down if you don't, so, yeah, it's up to you. See ya.